Välkommen! I dasen video kommer I gransen FÄNGELSEHÅLA. How was my Swedish? Probably awful. I'm sorry for anybody watching who knows Swedish if I completely butchered this. But today I am reviewing FÄNGELSEHÅLA, also known as Fang. Dieku Games reached out and asked if we wanted to feature Fang in a review video, and they sent us over an extra copy to give away to one of our lucky viewers, so stick around to the end to find out how you can get your own copy. The wonderful folks at Dieku Games reached out and asked if I wanted to review this IKEA meets dungeon crawls, and the concept, I was like, I love IKEA, I love RPGs. Yes! Certainly. So yes, this is kind of an old school feeling dungeon crawl game. And it, as you can see from these fun little illustrations, it very much has like this Swedish IKEA influence, at least in the illustration, and even I will say in some of the mechanics and specifically like character creation and dungeon creation. It is a very plug and play RPG. You only need this little tiny book to create your characters, for the dungeon master to run games, for the dungeon master to create the dungeon and have all of the different monsters in it. It is a very simplistic game. And for that, I think this might actually in some ways be a very good introductory to RPGs because it's not overwhelming when it comes to mechanics and or choices. This game, you only have 4 different attributes. You have will, tinker, agility, and tough. And to assemble a character, it is super easy. You can pick them yourselves or roll on a table and just randomize. And then you also have these magic heirlooms, as well as luck and gear. There are 8 different characters you can choose from. There you go. They have like the nice little kind of IKEA-esque illustrations. I love the illustrations throughout this. It does very much feel like somebody looked at the IKEA like instruction manual and then just created like fantasy versions of it. So looking at this, you know, you're not going to have all of these super personalized characters, but you do get some choice in this, or you can randomize, and it provides you this very, very generic baseline that then, you know, you as players can kind of fill in with the personality. Now, this is a dungeon crawl. The premise for the game is very simple. Darkness has fallen on Midgard, and, you know, like, the fish stocks are dried up, the farmland is not producing enough, and so you are tasked with delving into the dungeons to go gather gold and riches and treasures. It's a traditional dungeon crawl. Like, you're going into a dungeon, you're battling monsters, or, you know, coming up against traps and obstacles that you have to overcome to get the treasure. Fang uses 6-sided dice, and your attributes determine how many dice you roll, and then you pick the top 2. So if you're only rolling 2 dice, well, that's the number that you're set with. But if you're rolling 4, that significantly increases the chance that 2 of those dice are going to be high numbers. You need 3 different colors of dice. You need action dice. So for these, you will need the number of white dice or whatever color you designate for the action dice to have the amount of your highest attribute. Then you also need black dice, which are the doom dice. These are dice that get stacked up, and I'll get more into the doom stack in a minute. And then you also need red dice, which are the luck dice. This dice can be added to a roll after it has been made, and each character gets a certain amount of luck dice each game, and they reset every day. There are also additional ways that you can get luck dice. I'm not going to go into all of the rules in this video, although they're simple enough, I probably could. There are 3 different action roll results. You could succeed, you can fail, and in between those is a jinx, which is a basic success, but there's a minor complication at it. I like this mechanic because, you know, for those times where it's like, you just hit the number of, you know, you just hit the DC, then that allows the game master to, okay, let's add this complication. Or like, you were just one under, but I maybe don't necessarily want you to completely fail. Okay, you will say that you get a jinx. Okay, let's talk about the doomstack. So the doomstack is kind of a cool mechanic of incorporating this thing that like almost every single RPG player that I know has stacked dice. Like I do it when I'm sitting at the table and bored. I've seen so many other people do it. So in Fang, they incorporate that like inherent feeling to be like, I want to stack things into an actual mechanic. So if your character receives trauma, you add a dice to the doomstack. If your doomstack were to topple, your character has received so much trauma that they fall unconscious and are near to death. There are mechanics to recover from the doomstack toppling over, but you do receive a scar even if you do recover, and that is considered a permanent dice on your doomstack. So each time the doomstack falls over, you're going to restart with more and more dice. I also really appreciate that they do have a alternative method if you are in a place that you don't have a stable table, like maybe you're playing out and about, because this is a very good game to like bring with you, like if you want to meet up at a brewery or a park, wherever, and play, this would be a very easy one to do that. Or if you were playing virtually or have some reason why perhaps a player would not be physically capable of stacking dice, they do have a tracking method that allows you to do that just with pen and paper instead of physical dice. Your characters also get magic heirlooms. These can be runestones, edibles, or just items that can help enhance your dungeon dive. And the rules for combat are the same for making any other check. The monsters that you are up against will have a DC, and you will just have to roll based on the stat that your weapon uses. I like all of the different runes that they provide you with. That does very much have this like Swedish Viking vibe to it. And all of these give you special different kinds of abilities. There are some very fun ones. You can like summon different beasts. You can create undetectable magic portals. You can control earth, wind, water, or fire. You can see to different places. Like there's a nice variety in the runes that you can get. And runes go off of a saving throw. There are also the edibles, and this goes off of your tough skill. And these provide a similar, like there's a nice variety of things, as well as the items give you some, they give you a nice variety, which I think does allow the game to be replayable and have different characters, different combinations each time. As well as you have some basic starting gear that your character starts out with, and then they can acquire treasure along the way. Now, as I said earlier, I think this can be a very good introductory RPG because it is very simple. There aren't a lot of choices, but this book doesn't really have a whole lot of explanation of like what a role-play game is, or dive into a lot of like why play role-play games that some bigger books, I'm thinking specifically like Pathfinder, I know Modern Age, the Age books do this very well also. I think it is kind of expecting that the people who are picking up this book have a baseline understanding of an RPG, or at least the one person does, and then perhaps you can be teaching other people about it.
A big thanks to all of our patrons, especially Sean. If you enjoy our videos, make sure you're subscribed, then head on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and check out the perks of being a patron.
Also included in this book is everything the Doomsayer needs to run the game. The Doomsayer is what the Dungeon Master, Game Master is called in Fang. Also, I love the artwork for the Doomsayer section. That's just a fun like, you know you got into it. Players, don't read on. So for Doomsayers, you roll off of a table to create your dungeon. So this is going to create a slightly different dungeon every time. And you can kind of roll as you go, so you don't have to create this huge long dungeon that maybe your players die 5 rooms in and never make it to the 20th level. 20 might be a bit far in this game. But just as an example, you can also roll for the different kinds of encounters, and it provides, okay, if you have a party size of 2, this is how many you should of these monsters you should have. If you have a party size of 3 or more, this is how many you should have. You can play just the Doomsayer and another player. So this could be a duet game, and you can play... Actually, I don't know if they say how many max players. They don't say specifically how many max players, but you could, have at least 3 or potentially more play this game. The monsters are kind of broken down into categories, as you can see here. So for example, beasts then also breaks down into different body types of beasts. So you can have a burly bear, a powerful primate, a climbing cat, a giant rodent, a hoofed beast, or a blubbery beast. And then you can combine that with the unique feature and critical attack. And you don't have to have, like, the burly bear has the leaping legs and constricting hug. You don't have to go across that whole line. So you have these 6 different body types, 6 different unique features, and then 6 different critical attacks, which is going to give you, if you're rolling off of this, so many different options. I can't do the math on the fly. So there are 5 different main categories of monsters you could come up against: beasts, serpents, bugs, enchanted, and dwellers. A whole fun variety of objects they can find. Additionally, there are challenges as well as traps, and I really appreciate that they have the challenges and traps in here, that it's not just you're walking around and fighting everything, that there can be other obstacles that the players need to overcome to delve deeper into the dungeon. So they may need to find other ways to get past things other than just fighting, which, is a lot more fun than just, we're going to walk around and bash things. Like, maybe I need to get creative to figure out how we're going to get across this deep chasm with a fraying rope bridge. Or there's a giant statue with a gem at the top that we could climb to pry out. But as the Doomslayer, maybe you decide, oh, that's also going to be a trap. So you can actually combine the challenges and traps. And I could even see, like, combining the beasts, challenges, traps. Like, there could be a nice combo that you really can get all sorts of different levels in this dungeon. They have a page that has some additional information, like how to handle traps, permission to be creative, as well as, like, hey, what happens if you have an accidental doomstack topple? Finally, there is the treasure page, as well as this nice little illustration of perhaps what some of your mapping can look like. As I said before, I think this is a really great game for introducing new players. I think it's also a great game to have in your library if your gaming group really likes one-shots. Also for game masters to just have this little paperback book that is gonna weigh basically nothing that you can have in your game kit. If you have a day where suddenly, like, 2 of your players can't make it, and instead of going, oh gosh, do we not game today, I can come up with something on the fly. I need absolutely no prep, absolutely no planning, both to create characters and to actually run the game. Then, we can still get together and play a game, even if it's not the campaign that we were running. This is also something that's great to just have with you for those times where it's like, hey, we find ourselves having a long wait for our table. Perhaps you create characters and you play a couple of rooms in the dungeon, and then you can continue playing it at dinner. There are just so many options, I think, to play this game, as well as the fact that you can play one-on-one, or you can play with a larger party. I think Ryan and I are definitely going to try playing this one of these nights after Kiri goes down, because no prep and just a fun, like, us at-home date night, which we need more of those. Also, I got an email just before I was getting ready to film this letting me know that Dieku Games is launching a adventure jam. So if you are interested in designing and potentially getting your adventures sold as official adventures for FÄNGELSEHÅLA, did I say it right that time? I hope so. I will put a link to that as well as a link directly to Fang down in the description below. I love when publishers pull in the community and say like, hey, do you really enjoy this game? Are you interested in creating stuff? We will give you a third-party license to create and sell your own adventures. So potentially, also, if you are looking for specific adventures to run but don't want to come up with them yourself, you can go over and check out ones that the fellow folks in your community have created. That's just a really cool, just embracing the community that I love to see publishers do. So have you picked up and played Fang? Have you heard about it? Is this the first you're hearing about it? If it is this a game that you'd be interested in playing? Let me know down in the comments below, or just drop an emoji for engagement. That definitely helps us. Make sure that you are subscribed and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I really enjoy making these review videos and hope that you enjoy them too. So if you are interested in getting your own copy of FÄNGELSEHÅLA, or just Fang, make sure that you are subscribed and follow the first link in the description below. It will take you to a page where you can see all the different ways that you can enter to win your own copy. Sorry for the lack of video last week and kind of little step back that we've had this last month. The beginning of the month was full of birthdays in our household, and then we had respiratory illness after respiratory illness of just like illnesses getting passed around to everybody. That made filming very difficult. So, but now we're all better, fingers crossed, and we will return to our regularly scheduled release schedule. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye! Välkommen! Idag video kommer jag att granska FÄNGELSEHÅLA. Alright. Välkommen! Nope, I already messed it up.